How's it going, Philippines? I'm your host, Irah Fernandez. Starting with the introduction of firmware, this is the FMW News. Today's technology consists of tangible and intangible elements bound with firmware. Some say that firmware is the software for hardware, as it can be thought of as the software that enables hardware to run. It is installed directly onto a piece of hardware during manufacturing, making it seem that firmware exists between hardware and software. Firmware uses a low-level microcode that implements machine instructions that allow the hardware to function and communicate with other software running on a device. There are three types of firmware based on the level of hardware integration. We have the low-level, high-level, and the subsystem. The low-level firmware that is often stored on non-volatile memory chips, which cannot be rewritten or updated. It is considered an inherent part of the hardware. While high-level firmware resides on flash memory chips, it does allow updates and is generally more complex than low-level firmware. Lastly, the subsystem firmware, which often comes as a part of an embedded system, and it embeds microcode like high-level firmware, so it is usually similar to a system. Some real-world applications of firmware include personal computers, storage devices, mobile devices, automotive, home appliances, and even smart cards. Firmware is found in personal computer that comes embedded on a small memory chip on the computer's motherboard, while portable storage devices contain basic firmware that enable them to function with a computer. Mobile devices contain firmware that lets the hardware work with the various software. And for home appliances, the firmware helps the machine communicate with the computer used to configure the machine's settings and control its operation. And for the smart cards, instructions are embedded in a chip that provides the card's basic functionality as well as authentication and encryption. Ask is it a need to update your firmware? The answer is yes. By updating the firmware, you will be able to explore new features that are added to the device and also have an enhanced user experience while interacting with the device.
Software is a set of instruction data or program used to operate computers and execute a specific task. It is the opposite of hardware, which describes the physical aspect of a computer. Software is a generic term used to refer to applications, scripts, and programs that run on a device. It can be thought of as the variable part of a computer, while hardware is the invariable part. The two main categories of software are application software and system software. Examples and types of software among the various categories of software. The most common types include the following. First, application software. The most common type of software application software is a computer software package that performs a specific function for a user or some cases for another application. Second, the system software. These software programs are designed to run a computer application, programs, and hardware. System software coordinates the activities and function of the hardware and software. Driver software, also known as device driver. This software is considered a type of system software. Device driver control the device and peripheral connected to a computer, enabling them to perform their specific tasks. Middleware. The term middleware describes software that mediates between application and system software or between two different kinds of application software. Programming software. Computer programmers use programming software to write code. Programming software and programming tools enable developers to to develop, write, test, and debug other software programs.
I am Kathleen, Klein, a Dimaano, and I will be discussing all about hardware. So what is hardware and what is the connection of hardware to firmware? But first, is firmware related to hardware? Here's the answer. The software stack that runs applications and basic operations on computer hardware relies on firmware as its foundation. So similar to how a computer's operating system controls software's applications. And hardware manufacturers use embedded firmware to control the functions of various hardware devices and systems. In the world of technology today, the term hardware and firmware are used a lot, but their distinct characteristics clearly distinguish them from one another. It is essential to have a fundamental understanding of these two technical terms and their primary distinctions. A collection of all mechanical components that are integrated into a device and are categorized as fittings is referred to as hardware. Hardware includes, for instance, a computer processor, motherboard memory, sound card, removable devices such as flash drives or flash disk, and input and out devices. So here's some differences between hardware and firmware. So a hardware has a physical entity and can undergo physical damage, unlike firmware. And also, a hardware needs a program to run, while a firmware is a program itself. A hardware cannot operate without a firmware, while firmware operates on a hardware. A hardware can be reprogrammed, while a firmware does not require reprogramming, except for a few cases.
I'm Medaline Ramos. My tackle is all about versioning. So what is versioning? Versioning is the creation and management of multiple product releases, all of which have the same general function, but are improved, upgraded, or customized. Versioning is the creation and management of multiple product releases, all of which have the same general function, but are the improved, upgraded, or customized. While many developers and vendors use the term in different contexts, versioning most often applies to operating systems, software, artifacts, and web services. For example, vendors can assign unique names or specific numerical identifiers to an ongoing series of a product releases such as Windows 10 and Windows 11. The numbers represent different versions of the same software or application, and the numbers assigned increase to correspond to the latest development and releases. Subsequent releases of the same product can also be assigned numerical identifiers consisting of 2 or 3 numbers separated by periods. The first number, called the major number, is the increase when there are significant improvements or changes in functionality. For example, when Microsoft upgraded its erstwhile Internet Explorer 4 browser to Internet Explorer 5. The second number, called the minor number, is incremented when there are minor features, changes, or notable fixes. Internet Explorer 5.2 indicates that minor changes were made to the earlier version, Internet Explorer 5.1. The third number, if it exists, is called the revision number and is added or increases when minor bugs are eliminated. For example, the 7 in Internet Explorer 5.1.7 shows that bug fixes were made to the previous version.
Updating firmware for NVMe storage drives has relied on hardware vendors to create firmware update applications, which utilize a specific firmware update, IOCTL, introduced Windows 10. These applications are typically distributed outside of the Windows update. End users need to determine which storage disks are in their device. Obtain the correct storage, drive, firmware utility from a manufacturer websites, and manually download and install the updates. Additionally, devices running Windows 10 in S mode are in an enhanced security configuration which only allows users to run Microsoft verified applications. Therefore, vendors' utilities may fail to update drive firmware. This manual process results in low adoption of firmware updates, increased support costs, and customer satisfaction issues for hardware manufacturers. Updating device firmware using Windows Update service using a driver-based solution is available to hardware vendors and requires them to either add firmware update logic and payload to an existing functional driver or provide separate firmware update driver and package. This results in duplicate work across hardware partners and increase the overall servicing cost. Storage drive. For more information about Universal Drive compatibility. To use Windows 10 to update drive firmware, you must have supported drives. To ensure common device behavior, Windows 10 specifies optional hardware lab kit. Requirements for NVM devices. These requirements outline which commands NVM storage drive must support to be firmware updatable using the new Windows Update-based solution. Contact your solution vendor for information about whether your hardware supports Windows updating the drive firmware. SCIS identifier for NVMe storage disk drives starting with Windows 10 version 2004 OS build 19041.488 or higher. Two new identifiers are available for NVMe storage disk drive using drivers which storage firmware update solution details. In the following diagram, Windows 10 provides both the function driver and firmware update driver. To utilize the Microsoft supplied driver to update NVMe driver firmware, two separate driver submissions are required. Package 1. Create identity for driver firmware update. Typically, this package contains the following: extension INF to create software device to act as the independent target hardware for the firmware update package. Storage drive firmware update example. Since both INF requires sheets for Windows Update distributions, hardware partners can validate the solution locally using PNPUTIL-exec. For the requirements, Windows 10 version 2004 OS build or higher, device with NVMe storage drive using inbox, stored phase driver, NVMe drives firmware binary, proper authorized INF files.
Swag pack, Bear Brand swag pack. Ako ang swag pack, loaded up with vitamins and minerals too. Ano mang maging kailangan mo, I got inside for you. Swag pack, Bear Brand swag pack. Mag Bear Brand swag pack ka na, 10 pesos lang.
May gatas ka pa sa labi.
Yeah!
And that's it for today. This is the FMW News. Stay safe, keep learning, and have a good one.